Now, we enjoy robust political discussion here on am.pm, but in the US there's now a major debate about whether the language of American politics has become too vicious following the shootings in Tucson, Arizona. 6 people were killed in the shooting, and the Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords remains in hospital following the incident. Mark's in the Oriel with a man who has first-hand experience of politics US style, haven't you, Mark?
Thank you, Carl. Yes, I'm joined by the Editor-in-Chief of UK Progressive magazine, Denis Campbell. Mr Campbell, this debate about how much language, intemperate language and imagery might have contributed to a climate in which shootings like the one in Arizona are more likely to happen, it seems to be gripping America. Is it a debate which was waiting to happen, do you think?
Well, it is, and the situation that you've seen with the shooting and everything else has all been predicated and built around the very fiery rhetoric that existed during the campaign just 3, 4, 5 months ago, and really has been systemic throughout American politics since the 2008 election with the nomination of Barack Obama. There is an undercurrent of racism, there's an undercurrent of intolerism, there's a huge undercurrent of fear, and all of these are contributing to an environment where it doesn't take much, and particularly if you have a gentleman who has thus far been alleged to have been mentally unstable, Mr. Luffner, with these beliefs flying about him, particularly coming from a very strong right-wing negative bias. It does have an impact, and it could have been what pushed him over the edge. It didn't cause it, but it certainly has contributed to the environment.
At the same time, you've got people on the right in America who are making the point that people know the difference between a crosshair on a website and going out and shooting somebody, and the difference between an instruction to do that and what is, if an insensitive and a ill-chosen image, it's still an image. Most people are saying they do not say that seriously.
Well, most people do say that, but unfortunately the pattern of particularly the right wing and in particular the Republican/Tea Party of the United States has been to really sort of look at these things and break them down, because there is not a lot of intelligence, unfortunately, in that side. And what happens is you get simple code words, and there are a number of people. I've debated on a number of television shows a gentleman by the name of Frank Luntz, who has become a master at creating an entirely new vernacular, an entirely new language, where you break it down to its smallest component part, you lace it with language that's designed to cause fear and generate a reaction, and indeed they have in this case.
Are you suggesting, we haven't got any of the people with those views here to defend themselves, are you suggesting that the right in America has a monopoly on that kind of language?
Well, no, because I would say from the violent aspect of it, yes, they do have a monopoly. On the left, you do have a lot of attacking sort of language. It tends to be a little bit more snarky, a little bit more intellectual. It tends to have more of a sarcastic bite to it. But both sides are taking a lot out of each other right now, and no one is really helping. And I think the voices that are in the middle now, calling for calm, calling for people to say, really just take a step back and look what's happening. Because, I mean, I had a contribution on the magazine from a woman who was at 9/11 during Ground Zero, and she talked about the amazing spirit of the American people to rebuild the city of New York and to come together in crisis. I think we're in a crisis right now, and we need to see some of that spirit, some of the people sort of pulling back from their rather entrenched positions and really looking at what's going to be good for the common good going forward.
A difficult moment for President Obama. I mean, he seems thus far to have stayed out of this debate about language, for example. I presume he wants to be seen as a healing influence, a unifying influence. On the other hand, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has engaged with the issue, talked about needing to move beyond crazy language and so forth. How does Obama play this?
I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to watch this evening. He's going to be flying down this afternoon to Arizona for the memorial service, which will be about 1 o'clock in the morning our time for those that have a bit of insomnia and want to stay up like myself. But he is more of a statesman, and he has to be a statesman. Some people say you campaign in poetry, you govern in prose. And if you look at the statements that he's made, the speeches that he's made during times like this, they don't have the high oratory of the campaign rhetoric that you see, or the campaign speeches. But I guarantee you'll hear a very powerful call from him today for everyone to sort of take a step back, calm down, and look at where we're headed.
I wanted to ask you about another issue, which is it's like the elephant in the room over these shootings. the gun issue in America. It strikes me that an alien landing might say, well, there's all this discussion about language, that might be very significant, but what about the fact that people could easily access firearms? That's not new, of course. Is there any prospect of any movement on that in America following these events?
Unfortunately, the gun lobby, the National Rifle Association lobby, is extraordinarily powerful. It has a lot of sway. If you look at a country of roughly 308 million people, which is what the United States is, there are 270 million guns out there. And we had an assault weapons ban until 2004 when the former President Bush allowed it to expire. So one of the issues that came up and was talked about yesterday was the fact that the gentleman, Mr. Loeffner, used a clip that had 31 bullets in it when the standard clip only has 10. And the supposition was, what if that ban was still in place? Would less people have died? Simple fact is there's just too many guns and too many bullets out there, but it's like the third rail of American politics. You touch it, you die.
Going back to the issue of this sort of hostile environment, how recent is that? I mean, we're used to stringent political opposition here, but we don't seem to have anything with quite that level of bile. Is that a new thing?
Well, I've noticed it. I mean, it has been ratcheting up over the years. I've been following politics in the States for a number of years. I've not seen the level of toxicity that you've seen over the last couple of years, and most of this since, quite frankly, the Americans elected a black man as their president. That has brought a lot of the crazies out of the closet, people that would not normally have a voice and an opportunity.
A very dangerous moment, perhaps, but thank you very much for joining us, Denis Campbell. Back to you, Carl.
Thank you, Mark.